Welcome to the GovCon playlist. So today we are covering some recent events, which is the Artemis launch. So that just launched 2 days ago. So now it is, well, currently as we record, it's circling the Earth. So I think they're doing 3 passes around the Earth, and then that's when they're going to kind of slingshot out, go around the moon, come back. So with something like the Artemis, I grew up and my dad was in NASA. Huntsville's a huge hub for NASA space exploration, everything like that. But something I think is like an interesting topic from the standpoint of a government contractor, and I find NASA kind of fits into that. The benefits of all of this government spending for space exploration. We hear the pricing on these stuff, and SLS is billions of dollars over budget, that sort of thing. While on, I'm an engineer, so obviously I think rockets are cool. I think it's a very cool thing. But I wonder from your experience, if I'm an average person, I'm sitting here like, man, like it's hard to afford groceries and that sort of thing. And I hear about an Artemis launch, and all the money that we're spending towards something like that. Do you find it hard to basically connect the dots with the benefits of something like that for the average American? Like, well, essentially, an average American is fronting the bill for this, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And I do think that space exploration is incredible, but at the same time, I wonder, like, what are the benefits to having a space program, that sort of thing, and kind of exploring space for the average American?
Oh man, I don't know. Here's a problem I have is that there's no true nobody's being honest about what's happening in space. That's
Okay.
like my number one issue. All right. So we know we got satellites up there, right? There's so many satellites. We know there's planets up there, moons, all this stuff, right? You've seen the TV shows. Have you seen For All Mankind?
I've seen parts of it. Yeah.
All right. So they had the same discussion. Same thing. Like do you start exploring and is there a benefit? At the end, NASA gets commercialized and they become the way that people go explore the moon because they have all the scientists and all this kind of stuff. And they have this massive budget because they're doing the rocket test, they're doing this and they're doing that. And because they are the government, they get these approvals to do things. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So like, is it worth it? I'm just like from a funny standpoint. Yeah. I mean, from a TV show perspective, absolutely. You commercialize space exploration and you help companies do it. But you still have like massive disasters, it's for this TV show. Now in real life, like where I sit, we benefit from SBIRs. NASA issues SBIRs, Air Force uses SBIRs. The biggest player in space is guess who? The Army. Like
Really?
that's our biggest player, man. Absolutely. The government spend in space is really the Army. That's the beast right there. Space Force is obviously they're there to do the job, but let's make it a little more complex. Should we be spending money with companies to do space exploration or should it just be government? That's kind of where I'm like on the fence because what are we really getting from it? Now, I was just with NASA and they were like, it's all about mining, 100% about mining. It's about getting these elements, these rare elements off the moon, 100%. Like that's where it's at. But also their perspective. If you're managing satellites, doing this, doing that, you know what I mean? It gives you a different vantage point. I get it. But then they were like, well, there's only this tiny spot on the moon on the South Pole that you can actually function on because it has no sun to put up solar panels to generate power.
Hmm.
And I'm like, so that tells me like we're gonna have a war on the moon. It ain't worth it. I don't unless there's like ultra wealthy people that just want to leave the Earth and have somewhere else to go. It ain't worth it. And let me not forget regolith. Have you heard about regolith?
Mm-mm.
Okay, the moon dust, it is so fine that no matter how good we seal stuff, it still gets in.
Interesting.
So if you have a problem with regolith, you can't disturb it, otherwise it just blows in everything. And it's super cold. You only have one spot where you can generate solar, and it's a tiny area, which means countries are only one country could actually operate there. Unless
Hmm.
you have like a unified base or whatever, kind of like the International Space Station. But yeah, I don't think it's worth it. Let me just say that. I think the spend is good because it opens up a lot of, opportunity for companies. And you could do a lot of good things with that money.
Mhm.
No, I don't think space exploration is truly worth it. Not right now. It costs too much. It just costs too much.
Now, so I understand that as far as like, okay, if we were going to set up a mining camp on the moon, and I don't know what elements are on the moon that we can't get on Earth or whatever it is, but I've heard the argument that it's kind of like NASCAR or F1, right? You have these hyper expensive or hyper, performing vehicles, whatever it is, but that technology ends up getting trickled down. So, BMW will roll out something in F1 and then that ends up in your 5 series in your driveway, right? Excuse me. So I wonder, do you see a correlation there as well? Because I've heard like for one of the examples I've heard, obviously it was like the Velcro. Okay, we were able to develop Velcro from NASA, and it's like, well,
Right.
is Velcro really that game changing? I don't know, but
It's
one of the
pretty
things I
awesome.
have heard is like, for instance, one of the issues they were having when they were landing the shuttle back was it's unpowered, so it's kind of gliding in,
Hmm.
and they had to groove the runway so that the wheels would lock in and then they could land. And now
Hmm.
that's standard for every single flight. Like all planes do that. Every one runway is now grooved. And even onboarding ramps, like when you're onboarding in and off the freeway, those are also grooved for the same reason. It locks your kind of tire in and makes it way more stable. You don't, fly off the road, that sort of thing.
Right. Right.
So are there correlations that you see from a technology perspective that are worth it? That's like, hey, we have all these scientists working on this thing, and the problems that they're solving end up trickling down into everyday life.
Yeah, I mean, definitely. So, I mean, like I was saying before, like the SBIRs and STTRs and all these programs that generate tech, and that's just one facet of it. But also these, big companies and government spending a lot of money on exploration. It does create this huge trickle down effect of um of really amazing stuff that makes life easier. You can go to NASA's website. They have an IP transfer office where you can go there and find intellectual property, amazing stuff that you can take a license for, go make it, and put it into play. There's
Really?
amazing stuff. Dude, they have a foam. They have this foam I was looking at. I was just recently, I forgot the name of it, but it's like this super foam, super airy, like you can put it in stuff and it bounces back, but it's like super light. I don't know. It's just crazy stuff. Like you could make better shoes. You could make, better protection in cars. Instead of airbags, you could have this special foam. I mean, that could just deploy and then just kind of hold you. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? Where
Yeah.
where you don't there's no jarring. Yeah, I mean, there's like all this stuff. Yeah, I think it is. I think that's like the one good after effect is, yeah, man, there's amazing stuff that makes the world better, makes it easier. You can help more people in need, like how they process water out of air. Put that in an area that has no water. Now you got water. Except for the machine is like stupid expensive, and you know what I mean. But yeah, man, I do think there's a wonderful effect afterwards. Yeah, 100%.
Do you see that also? Because I would say the same argument applies for defense and that sort of thing. Do you think that the same thing correlates there? Because the first thing that comes to mind for me is like GPS, satellite, that sort of stuff. That was a that was a defense thing first. It was first deployed for government, that sort of
Yeah,
thing, and then they
100%.
kind of
Yeah.
opened it up like this phone that you were talking about, and now Garmin hopped on the bandwagon very quickly, and then everyone else's follows. And now your phone can do it. It's just almost ubiquitous. Like I think people don't realize how incredible that is that your watch can track your
Hmm.
running and all that sort of stuff, and all of that stuff is definitely a government subsidized technology if you were to kind of frame it that way.
Yeah, yeah, 100%. I don't know, dude. Like, so take GPS for example. Amazing technology. I'm working with a company right now called Q Control. So letter Q hyphen CTRL. All right, this company does quantum guidance. No satellite needed.
Interesting.
And yeah, there's guess what? This stuff is they're gonna take funding from the government. They're gonna do X and Y with whatever agency, you know what I mean? It's
Yeah.
amazing. It's amazing. It came out of necessity because GPS is now it's amazing, but it's now saturated. It's completely satellite dependent. Too many satellites, not enough satellites, you know what I mean? Whatever it is. So yeah, I think
Right.
things like that are just phenomenal. And they spark this next level development.
Right. So for something like essentially a think tank, right? And you hear about companies, how much are they spending on R&D and that sort of thing. It's almost like, because for instance, like Google's a great example. Google, you know, has kind of owns the Google search, all that stuff, obviously, and ads and all that sort of stuff. and that's like 60% of their income. But because of that, they're able to just basically have Google Labs just cranking out ideas where they're like, hey, let's try this, let's do this, that sort of thing. So Google's funding all of their own, intellectual property, and ideas and that sort of stuff to just see what sticks, see what's interesting, that sort of thing. A lot of Google products, and in fact, a lot of developers are very like frustrated with Google because Google does this all the time where they'll create something and then they're like, yeah, we just kind of wanted to see if we could, right? They do
Mhm.
it. A lot of users are like, wow, this is great. They get on board. And then 2 years later, Google's like, yeah, we X'd that, we're just not doing that anymore.
Yeah.
But it almost sounds like the US government in some ways is doing that as well, just in a different format? So I wonder, like, do you think this should be something that companies are doing versus the US government is funding? Do you see what I'm saying? Like, why have the government subsidize ideas and in developing these technologies? Why not instead just go, hey, I'm gonna let the company do it. If they come up with something cool, great. If they don't, that's on them.
Why would the government subsidize it internally, uh, versus just letting companies solve the problems? Is that what you're
Right.
asking? Intellectual property, government's a business. I
Hmm.
mean, they get to own the IP. They get to control it. I mean, look at ITAR. You know about ITAR. Can't
Yeah.
you make something here? They can regulate you, even if you are a company, you make it. They can regulate whether you can share it with another
Yeah.
country, or another person outside the country. It's about control. And I think it's also about being ahead of possible enemies. I think it's about keeping a stage set where the country looks and performs as a major power. So I mean, if you look at the spend, the most of the spend has been on weapons,
Yeah.
and companies developed after World War I heavily to make more weapons.
Hmm.
I think that, there's a big issue right now with they did allow companies to make stuff because of war. Well, now the government's like, we still need these things, and you all have the intellectual property. We need to make more parts. Companies like, well, we're not going to tool up and make more parts for this thing that we sold you 40 years ago. Well, the
Mhm.
government's like, well, we need them though, and the company's like, yeah, it's not worth it. Pay us $100 million and we'll retool. The government's like, no, it's insane. And now you have this obsolescence issue. So the government is like, well, now we do a contract. We want the rights to it. So if we pay you to develop it, it's our stuff. We have technical data rights. We have the assertions. We have the IP. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think that's kind of what it comes down to. It's just business. It's just business.
So I look at companies, and I don't know how true this is, but the poster boys, like the Anduril company, they're big on Lucky Palmer has been quoted saying basically that the traditional model of, working with the government, developing this IP is, hey, I have this idea, give me a grant, whatever it is, we're going to explore it and we'll see how it turns out. Right. And it might work, might not, that sort of thing. If it does, great. Then, like you just mentioned, ITAR comes and they, figure all that stuff out. But his approach is more, hey, just build the thing. And then if the government wants it, they'll buy it. Right. That's kind of how he's reframed it. And that's more of a, traditional business tech approach to something is, hey, you have to have all this upfront investment. You either get that from investors or, hedge funds, whatever it is, right? You get
Hmm.
your investment fund, you build the thing, and then you bring it to market, right? In the case of the government, or in Andrew's case, their customer is the government or government agencies. So they have gone out on their own, built it, and then they just sell it to the government. But
Yeah.
the funding there is almost reversed, right? Do you see that happening more or less? Like, should small companies or people trying to get into the game, would you advise them start first with the funding from the government, try and get a grant, try and get something there, then start working on whatever the product services you have? Or are you like, no, just build something and then go sell it?
I've done both. I've done
Yeah.
both. And I'm doing both currently. I'm going to say there's a lot of merit in building it and then selling it. It just takes a lot of money, and it's rather difficult. I have the benefit of being in Huntsville. So I have access to tons of engineers, smart people. There's nothing that I could not build or have built based
Hmm.
on the connections I have. Nothing. I could have a car made. I could have a tank made in the
Yeah.
airplane. It doesn't matter because there's so much right there. I think in general, it's easy to say it's better to build it and then sell it. but I have a different position on it. The average person in the old days, they built it and then sold it. I think there's a moment where everybody just kind of got spoiled. It's like, well, the government, give me money to build it. And then the government gives you the money and maybe you build it, maybe you don't. I do think the climate right now is the government's kind of like, yeah, we're not going to just keep pumping out money for people to make stuff that doesn't work. We want to, this has got to work. So like Palmer, this dude is insanely well funded. Once again, different conversation. I've gotten funding from the government. Different conversation. In general, I think there's a lot of merit in just building it and then selling it. But we're something the government that you don't hear about a lot. So the government is grading people when you ask for money on your commercialization strategy.
Hmm.
So if it's so good, how come you can't sell it to the rest of the world? You know what I mean? If it's so useful, you should be able to sell it to anybody.
Yeah.
And we actually lost a SIBR grant because our commercialization strategy wasn't good enough. And that
Interesting.
says a lot right there. Yeah, they were like, everything else is perfect, but your commercialization is weak because we don't feel like you can really sell this thing, anywhere but to us. And so that's a big deal right there is being able to sell, being able to prove it's viable to the rest of the world. So I think you should build it and make it viable to the whole world. And then government, if you need a version of it or if you need it, we can sell it to you.
Yeah, interesting. Yeah, because the kind of story that I've heard, and this was where I'm saying I'm not entirely sure how accurate it is, but Lucky Palmer says that he built the VR headset thing that got
Hmm.
really popular. He caught it right on the cusp of it kind of blowing up. And then basically, Mark Zuckerberg was like, I think that this whole metaverse thing is going to replace, social media, basically the new Instagram is
Yeah,
kind of,
didn't
I think,
happen, but
his
yeah.
thought process. So he got a huge payout because he sold to Facebook and then
Hmm.
took that money and then went and started Anduril. So he kind of paints this picture where it's like he did really well commercially, sold this company, then was able to start and notice the need for shift in government contracting and wants to, build this. But as it stands now, like you said, he's incredibly well funded. So the story doesn't really hold up now from that sense, but from his early beginnings, maybe, I don't know. It's interesting how he's kind of painting that picture.
Yeah, I think you can paint out any picture you want when you have billions of dollars. You know what I mean? I mean, it just is what it is. I think the average person that might see this video is not gonna have billions of dollars.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think it's a different conversation, man. I mean, Palmer Lucky, whatever it was his last name Lucky for real?
Yeah. It's Palmer Lucky.
Wow. So yeah, he sold the goggles. He makes all this money. He invests. Yeah. I mean, it's just like Boeing. I mean, they might as well have sold to Facebook a billion times. The government has given them money like forever, insane
Yeah.
amounts of money. And so, yeah, you can say whatever you want to say when you have that kind of cash. I
Right.
mean, it just is what it is. Yeah. I don't know how else. Yeah. It's not a fair conversation,
Yeah.
I'm having to bootstrap a drone. It was initially funded, but now we're having to, keep going. And the two founders on it, you got to keep going.
Yeah.
And, I guess I could go out for investment. It's not something I've typically done. I probably should go do raises, but I also don't know if I want to deal with that many people. It'd probably make life a lot easier, actually. But yeah, maybe I should do it. I should probably talk to BC because
Yeah.
spend a lot of money, a lot of time, man. But yeah, yeah. I mean, I think it's just everything's easy when you have $1 billion. I don't care what anybody says. You
Yeah.
can say whatever you want to say. So I don't need to blabber on. That's final. Yeah.
So for a lot of these technologies, they're trickling down, this sort of a thing. When you're creating this tech, whether it's a government grant or not, you think that someone starting a technology, like let's use your drone for example, you're building this drone and you said originally you had, funding from government or an organization that was kind of, subsidizing or helping with the build, right? But
Hmm.
in your mind, or should you always be thinking like, what's my broadest range of customer? How can I get this out to as many people, not just the US government? Because I look at a lot of these technologies and some of them, again, like the guys who created GPS, it was a government think tank. That was specifically what they're using for. Now, granted, yeah, it's been licensed out and now, all these, other companies are using it. But I wonder from your perspective, do you typically look at the government as being like, hey, they're number one, they're client number one. And then if we can make it work with them, then we'll go and look at these other markets. Or when you're developing something, do you look at it from the lens of no, I need to find a buyer anywhere. And if the government happens to buy it, great. But I want to be diversified going into the idea. Does that make sense? The question?
Oh, yeah, yeah. I mean, I definitely when I started out in the space of making, it was 100% let's go get government money because that's kind of
Okay.
what I saw. That's what I've seen. Now, no, make it so that anybody will buy it.
Okay.
Never ever believe that the government is the highest and best client. If they end up being it, great. If it ends up being somebody else, great. But you got to remember the shutdown happened.
Right.
And what happened when the shutdown happened? It's over. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And you have a shutdown, you say whatever you want to say. If it's not viable and you're not trying to sell it to other people, you're depending on a giant that doesn't really care if you exist or not. You know, Pete Hegseth is not sitting in our conference room
Right.
reviewing our tech and making sure it's funded. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's no, no. We're having a fight. So I'm 100% like make it good enough so that anybody in the world that has the need and the means will buy it.
So then going back to that, because I think that's the more important question, finding the need.
Hmm.
Do you typically find the need within the government and then notice that, oh, there's other people that also have this need? Or how do you do the
Yeah.
market research for the government? Does that make sense?
Oh man, AI. At this point, so much has been published on the internet. If you know how to prompt AI, your market research can be cut down, possibly by 100%.
Really?
You can, yeah, 100, yeah, yeah, absolutely, absolutely. You can even find the contacts
Yeah.
using AI because this stuff is published. I still think it's a relationship game, but 100%, man. Yeah, you do the market research, you meet the right people that can tell you, hey, I want this or don't want it. But regardless of that, it has to be able to be sold anywhere to anybody that has the means and the need. It just it, that dependency on government is not safe.
Yeah.
It's just not safe. Yeah, but you can find out everything you want to in no time now. All the market
Interesting.
research and then
So you're
present it
using
to.
AI to find when you're saying that, is it just finding like, hey, we've noticed that the government is, leaning in this direction, like noticing trends, or is it like specific, like, hey, I noticed that they want to build this. We need this product specifically. Do you see what I'm saying? Is there a difference between, hey, there's a trend trajectory that I'm seeing, so we're going to try and fit into that trend, or is it, no, I'm looking for a specific thing to build?
I don't think you're a company unless you're looking for a specific thing to build. You might be an opportunist, but you don't have a focus if you're not looking for something specific to build. If you have a capability and you can find the problem and then kind of figure out what to build, that's fair. That's fair. Yeah, I have this, I can do this. I see the problem, I go after it. But I think it's better for a company to just find the thing to build, and go build it and then use it. I mean, the Artemis launch, you and I both know that everybody that's building rockets is building for the future. They're hoping that one day they get to cash in on
Yeah,
space. So you got to build it. Now, is the government involved? Of course they're involved. They have to be because they're in control of airspace and
right.
will ultimately be the defense force, which Space Force, of what happens up there. Because private companies won't be able to fight. For them to spool up and do all that would be insane. But yeah, absolutely. I think it's well, once again, it's funny. I'm sitting here, I'm about to answer, but I'm like, yeah, Palmer lucky. If you got $1 billion, it's a different conversation. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Yeah, I
yeah.
mean, but yeah, it's if I had $1 billion right now and I was building some tech, we'd have a different conversation.
Interesting. Yeah.
100%. Yeah.
Yeah.
But the think tanks, I do think the think tanks are amazing. I think we need more of them, except for a lot of companies really aren't interested in sitting down with other companies and finding stuff, like finding a problem and then crafting a solution and pitching it and selling it. I don't see that happen enough. And that's something I really love to see. It's a way like a funnel where people go, here's my problem. Okay, we have the right minds. Here's a solution. Pay for it.
Yeah.
And
Do you
we already
think
did the
that's a
market
cause
research. So
of just antiquated business practices, or what do you think is the issue, like, stopping that?
I think people are hungry. They got to make money, and they don't see that as a way to make money. I do personally, but then that's the kind of vision I have.
Yeah.
I don't think a lot of people see that as a great way to make money, but I personally do. I personally think gathering the best minds in the world to solve problems, whether it be commercial or government, and getting paid for it is the most fun job you can ever have.
Yeah.
I think it's amazing.
Hmm.
Yeah, just solving problems, man, making stuff. I think it's awesome.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I have to pay bills. You know,
Right.
I got bills now. Sometimes you have more bills than you have money. So it's like that might be a hindrance, honestly. That might be a big hindrance.
Well, cool. Well, hopefully, because yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, I mean, that's kind of the point of all of this, of what we're doing, is to inspire people to get some skin in the game. Go out if you
Got
have a
to.
great idea. Reach out to us if you're interested in that sort of thing, and yeah, get your idea off the ground, get it going. We definitely need more technology. It's always good to have, and the U.S. is kind of known for that. And I hope we keep seeing kind of upward trajectory with that. So the more research we can do, and inventing this new stuff is, gonna, like you said, it makes your life easier. It's a good thing.
Yeah. Well, I know a lot of companies don't know where to go ask the question, how do I get this made? And I know a lot of people in general just don't know. They don't, there's nowhere to go. You can't go to Google and like, I want to make this. What do I do?
Yeah.
It doesn't really point you to the right people. But you're looking at two people on this podcast, viewers that can help you make, whether it be software, hardware, anything. There's a network for that. So yeah, I'd love to get deeper in that. 100%.
Well, cool. Well, I appreciate your time. That'll wrap up today.
Yeah. Thanks, man.
Yeah, appreciate it. And again, yeah, if anyone's following along, have some questions, drop a comment. And I think all our contact info is also on YouTube as well. Reach out and
Hey,
connect. Awesome. Well, I appreciate it, Randall.
thanks, man.